Some stories don't start with hope. They start with exhaustion. This is a story about a man who forgot how to live, and a dog who never forgot how to wait. Welcome to Lumisette Narratives. Every morning begins the same way. Not with purpose, not with excitement, but with resistance. The alarm rings, sharp and demanding, cutting through unfinished sleep. His hand reaches out automatically, silencing it without opening his eyes. For a moment, the world is quiet again, but the weight returns instantly. Another day, another repetition. Another version of yesterday. He lies still, staring at the ceiling, counting invisible cracks that aren't there. The room is tidy, yet empty. Minimal furniture. Neutral colors. Nothing that asks him to stay longer than necessary. This room is not a home. It is a pause between obligations. Eventually, he gets up, shower shave. Same blue shirt, same gray trousers. He looks at himself in the mirror and barely recognizes the person staring back. The eyes are open, but distant. The body is standing, but tired. He exhales. Outside, the city is already awake. Cars honk, people rush. Coffee cups in hand, eyes fixed on phones, everyone moving fast. Yet going nowhere in particular, the office building stands tall and unimpressed. Glass walls. Automatic doors. He steps inside and feels something tighten in his chest. The elevator ride is silent. A few strangers. No eye contact. Floors pass. Ding, the office smells like recycled air and old coffee. Cool, sterile, lifeless. Fluorescent lights buzz overhead, humming softly like tired insects. Desks stretch out in rows, perfectly aligned. It's perfectly forgettable. He sits down, logs in, and disappears. Emails flood the screen. Status updates, deadlines, urgent requests that don't feel urgent at all. Meetings appear on his calendar. Stacked back to back like bricks, he stares at the screen. Unmoving. Time begins to blur. By mid-morning, his jaw is already clenched. His shoulders are tight. A dull headache pulses behind his eyes. He hasn't even done anything difficult yet, just existed. People talk around him. Office chatter. Forced laughter. Complaints disguised as jokes. How was your weekend? Too short. Same. No one listens to the answers. Lunch passes unnoticed. He eats because the clock says he should. By afternoon, he feels hollow, not sad, not angry, just empty by the time evening arrives. He is exhausted in a way sleep can't fix. He shuts down his computer, packs his bag, and leaves. No one notices. The commute home is long. The train is crowded. Faces pressed into routine. Everyone staring forward, as if hope might be posted on the next station wall. He gets off, walks the familiar streets, unlocks his apartment door. Silence greets him, heavy, unmoving. He tosses his keys aside and stands there longer than necessary. No music, no television, just the quiet hum of a refrigerator and the distant sound of traffic outside. He loosens his tie and sinks onto the couch. Another day survived, not lived. Dinners. Simple. Microwaved. Forgettable. He scrolls through his phone, absorbing other people's lives, smiling faces, vacations, achievements. He puts the phone down. Comparison drains what little energy he has left. Later that night, he lies in bed, staring at the ceiling again. Sleep doesn't come easily anymore. Thoughts circle endlessly. What am I doing? Is this it? Is this all there is? His chest feels tight, his breathing shallow. He sits up suddenly, heart racing. A familiar sensation creeps in. Pressure, heat, fear without a name. He presses his feet into the floor, grounding himself. Breathe in, breathe out. Slowly, the tension eases, but something important has been lost. Peace. Days pass, then weeks, every day identical, until one evening, Something changes. He arrives home later than usual, exhausted. Irritated, he opens the fridge and notices a piece of paper stuck to it. A handwritten note. "You keep saying you need something to change. Dog adoption event today? Just thought you should know." He reads it twice. Then a third time, he doesn't move. A dog. The idea feels random, unnecessary. He doesn't have time. He barely takes care of himself. He crumples the note, then smooths it out again, sits down, thinks. What has changed recently? Nothing, and that's the problem. He picks up his jacket, locks the door, and walks somewhere. Unfamiliar. The shelter is louder than he expected. Barking echoes down the hallway, high-pitched, desperate, hopeful. The smell hits him immediately. Disinfectant, fur. Something strangely warm beneath it. Life rows of kennels line the walls. DGs of all sizes. All personalities, some jump excitedly. Some pace nervously. Some lie still. Watching eyes following him as he walks by, he feels overwhelmed. Guilt mixes with curiosity. He stops at the far corner. One kennel is quiet. Inside sits a dog with mismatched ears, not barking, not whining, just observing. The dog's posture is calm, head slightly tilted, eyes alert but gentle when their gazes meet. The dog doesn't rush forward. He waits. The man crouches slowly, for reasons he doesn't understand. His throat tightens. The dog blinks once, then shifts closer to the gate. No sound, just presence. Time seems to slow. The barking fades into the background. For the first time in months, the man feels something unfamiliar. Connection. A volunteer approaches, speaking softly, but he barely hears. His focus stays on the dog. The volunteer opens the kennel. The dog steps out carefully, walks toward. The man sits right in front of him. No jumping. No excitement, just trust. Offered freely, the man reaches out, hesitates, then gently places his hand on the dog's head. Warm. Real. Something inside him cracks open. A quiet place he forgot existed, for the first time in a long time. He smiles. He didn't plan to adopt the dog that day. He stood slowly, brushing fur from his fingers. His heart felt strange, lighter, but unsure. The volunteer spoke again. He's been here a while, very calm. Nobody really notices him. The man looked back at the dog. The dog looked back at him, still waiting that night. The apartment wasn't silent, not yet, but something had changed. The first night together was awkward. The dog explored cautiously, sniffing corners. Pausing often, the man watched closely, unsure where to sit, what to do, how to exist beside another living being. They shared the same space, but not yet the same rhythm. The dog circled a few times before settling near the couch, not touching, just close enough. The man slept lightly, waking at unfamiliar sounds. A soft breath, a quiet shift of pause. Each noise reminded him, I'm not alone. Morning arrived differently. Before the alarm, a gentle nudge. A wet nose against his arm. He opened his eyes. The dog sat beside the bed, tail sweeping the floor in slow, hopeful arcs, patient, expectant. For the first time in months, he laughed, not loudly, not dramatically, but genuinely. Outside, the morning air felt crisp, cool against his lungs. The city seemed calmer, somehow quieter, as if it noticed him noticing it. The dog walked beside him, pulling a little, stopping often, discovering everything. Leaves, smells, sounds. The world was brand new. And that excitement was contagious. He noticed things he usually ignored. Sunlight sliding between buildings, the way the pavement warmed underfoot, the rhythm of breathing while walking. By the time they returned home, his chest felt lighter. He checked the clock, still early. At work, the day went on as usual. Emails, meetings, artificial urgency. But something was different. When tension crept into his shoulders, his mind wandered. The morning walk. the wagging tail. The simple joy of movement. He still felt pressure, but it didn't crush him at lunch. Instead of eating at his desk, he stepped outside, sat on a bench, watched people pass, breathing slowly. That night, the dog ate eagerly, tail thumping against the floor. The man smiled again. Small things felt big now. Days passed, then more days. Routine formed. Not the suffocating kind, but a gentle one. Walks in the morning, work, walks at night. The dog waited by the door. Every evening, not impatient, not anxious, just trusting. Some nights, the man sat on the floor. The dog leaned against him, warm, steady breathing. In sync, he began talking, not loudly, not to anyone else, just sharing. The office was rough today. The dog listened. I feel like I'm pretending all the time. Dog stayed. Silence no longer felt heavy, it felt shared, still. Not everything was fixed. The exhaustion lingered. The stress returned sometimes. Sharp and sudden. One evening, after a long day, his chest tightened again. His thoughts raced. He sat down abruptly. Trying to catch his breath, the dog noticed. Immediately walked over, sat close, placed one paw gently on his leg. The pressure eased. Not because the dog did anything magic, but because he reminded the man to slow down too. Breathe. Weeks turned into a quiet transformation. The man started waking earlier, not dreading the day, but ready for the walk. He ate better. None of it was intentional. It just happened. Coffee tasted richer. Sleep came easier. Smiles lasted longer. At work, people commented, "You look different, more rested, more present." He didn't correct them. But inside, he knew. One evening, instead of collapsing on the couch, he took a different route home, Park he hadn't visited in years. They walked. Slowly, sunset dripped gold across the sky. The dog trotted happily beside him. He sat on a bench. The dog sat beside him. For a moment, he felt something unfamiliar. Hope. Not loud, not dramatic, just possible. He realized something important then. The dog never asked him to change, never pushed, never demanded. More, he simply existed, fully, honestly, and somehow. That made the man want to do the same. Back home, the man looked around his apartment. It didn't feel empty anymore, it felt lived in. The dog curled up and slept deeply, dreaming, paws twitching slightly. The man watched him, heart full, and finally whispered the truth to himself. I'm not broken. I was just tired. The mornings were peaceful now. Walks were longer. Breaths were deeper. The man felt stronger, not louder. Not invincible, just steadier. But life has a way of reminding us that stability is never permanent. One morning, the man woke up before the dog. That had never happened before. No pause pacing. No soft breathing beside the bed, just silence. He sat up suddenly. Hey. No response. The dog wasn't waiting by the door. Wasn't stretching. Wasn't smiling. He was lying still on the floor. Panic hit instantly. The man rushed to his side. Kneeling. The dog's eyes were open but dull. His breathing was shallow. The calm, patient presence that once grounded him now felt fragile. The man scooped the dog up without thinking. Keys forgotten. Jacket half on. The world narrowed to one goal. Get there now. The vet clinic smelled sharp and sterile. Too bright. Too loud. Time slowed again, but not gently this time. Wait here. The words echoed like a sentence. The doors closed behind the dog. The man was alone. He sat on the floor, back against a wall, shaking. That's when it hit him. Not fear of loss alone, but realization. This dog wasn't just a companion. He was the reason mornings mattered. The reason breathing felt easier. The reason the man had begun living again, and now. Everything felt uncertain. Minutes stretched. Ticking clocks became unbearable. The man buried his face in his hands. What will I do if he doesn't come back? The thought terrified him, because the truth was painfully clear. Before the dog, he hadn't been okay. He thought about the first day they met, the quiet trust, the waiting. He remembered every walk, every silent comfort, every moment of grounding. The man whispered into the empty room, "I'm not ready to lose you." Hours passed. Finally. Footsteps. The vet knelt beside him, spoke calmly, carefully. "He's weak, dehydrated, but he'll live." The man exhaled sharply, a breath he didn't realize he was holding. Relief flooded him violently. Tears followed. When the dog finally returned, wrapped gently and tired, the man broke. He held him tightly, carefully, afraid to hurt him. "Afraid to let go? I've got you," he whispered. "I'm here. At home." The dog rested quiet, still but alive. The man didn't leave his side. Not for work. Not for anything. He took time off without guilt, without apology for once. Something mattered more than productivity. Nights were long. The man listened to every breath, every movement. He realized something important in those nights. He had been living like his time was infinite. The dog never did. Animals know what humans forget, that life happens now. Slowly, the dog recovered. Strength returned inch by inch, and with it, clarity. One morning, weeks later, they walked again, slowly, carefully. The park looked the same, but the man did not. He stopped at the familiar bench, sat down. The dog leaned against his leg. The man stared at the sky. Thought deeply. "I can't go back," he whispered, "to how I was." Because surviving wasn't enough anymore. Fear of loss had sharpened his vision. Work was important, but not at the cost of living. He began setting boundaries, saying no, leaving on time. The office noticed. Some questioned him, but the man stood firm, calm, grounded. He applied for a different role, not higher, not louder, just healthier. Weeks later, he got it. The job paid less, but it gave him mornings, walks, peace. The dog didn't care. He never did. Life slowed down, and for the first time, slowing down felt like progress. One evening, the man sat on the floor. Again, the dog at his side. "I almost lost you," he said softly, "but you gave me back myself." Dog rested his head on the man's knee. Same as before, same as always, because motivation doesn't shout, it stays. The mornings no longer felt rushed. The alarm still rang, but it was followed by movement, not dread. The man stretched. The dog waited, and together they began the day. The world outside looked the same, but the way he moved through it had changed. Walks were slower, not because there was nowhere to go, but because there was no need to escape the moment. The dog walked confidently. Now, strong, healthy, tail held high. People smiled as they passed. Some stopped to talk. Others simply nodded. Connection no longer felt foreign. At work, the man was quieter but more present. He spoke honestly, worked reasonably, and left when his time was done. Productivity no longer defined him. Presence did. Evenings were simple. Cooking, music playing softly. The dog curled up nearby. Sometimes the man thought about the past, the constant tension, the shallow breathing, the feeling of being trapped. It felt distant now, like a life he once watched, but no longer lived. On weekends, explored farther. Trails just outside the city, paths with no schedules. The dog moved joyfully, stopping to sniff. Running in wide arcs, living fully in each second. The man used to rush ahead. Now he followed. One afternoon, they reached a quiet hill. The man sat down. Legs stretched out, the dog lay beside him. The world felt wide, peaceful. Still, he thought about how small changes had reshaped his entire life. one walk, one choice, one quiet companion. He realized something profound. The dog never rescued him in grand ways. He rescued him in ordinary ones, by showing up, by waiting, by reminding him to breathe. As years passed, they grew older together. The dog steps slowed again. The man adjusted without complaint. They spent more time sitting, less time rushing. The dog's muzzle grayed. The man's hair did, too, but neither minded because time felt earned now, not wasted. One evening, as the sun descended slowly, the dog rested his head on the man's leg, a familiar weight, comforting. The man smiled softly. "Thank you," he whispered. He didn't know how much longer they had, and for the first time. That was okay, because the lesson wasn't about forever, it was about now. The dog closed his eyes, breathing. Slow, steady. The man watched the sky darkened, heart full. He finally understood what the dog had been teaching him all along. Life doesn't need to be impressive. It needs to be present, and motivation doesn't always come from goals. Sometimes it comes from love. If you're watching this and feeling tired, if the world feels too loud, too fast, too heavy, remember this story. Slow down, breathe, and don't underestimate the power of quiet companionship. If this story meant something to you, if it brought comfort or reflection, please like this video and subscribe to Lumisette Narratives. More quiet stories are waiting for you. Until next time, take care of yourself.